Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you could make it. Thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Today, I want to talk to you about being your own hero, working through your own self-mastery, and becoming your own hero. Oftentimes, we get going and thinking about our favorite movie, and everyone's favorite movie is different. But you watch the movie and the person strives and struggles, and at the end, they're the hero. And oftentimes we don't feel that way about our own life. Some of us do, and that's fantastic. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is some ways, some real ways, some applicable ways to actually help yourself figure yourself out and what you need to do or want to do. Not what Luke suggests you to do or anyone else, but what you need to do for you. Okay? So the first one is take a real hard look at yourself. And what I mean is you go inside instead of going outside. So inside of yourself instead of looking externally, and doing some real deep self-reflection. Like getting in there. When an interesting thing would be, we often talk about being enough. And so what I mean about deep self-reflection would be not sort of like repeating yourself and saying, I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough. Not saying affirmations don't work. I'm not saying that. But I think when we really self-reflect and feel those things, like, you say, I'm enough. You look in the mirror and go, I'm enough. Cringe. Ugh, right? Like, ugh. But do it now with saying to yourself, you know what? I'm enough. And I really need to look into that. And you sit with it. And you sit with all that cringy feeling that comes up. And you allow yourself to process that, right? You really sit in that and process that and then do it again. Maybe not right away, but the next day you sit in that, I'm enough. I'm doing what I can. I'm a good person. Cringe. And you sit in that as that stuff comes up and you allow it to come up and you process it. And one of the ways of processing things is allowing yourself to finally feel stuff. Like, what is it that you're feeling when you say, I'm enough? Some people are like, well, I'm full of crap. That's bullshit. It's fake. Feel those things. Why do you feel those things? Why, when a little baby comes into the world and it's like, I'm enough. It's, oh, this is great. Right? And then we start to get older and other influences come along and it takes that away from us of being, I'm enough just for being me, just for being you. Right? But we'll run around and try to change all kinds of things because, that's what social media tells us to do, or that's what these people told us to do. But if we sit back and do a deep self-reflection on ourselves, and that could be through prayer, it could be through meditation, it could be just sitting in silence, like doing self-reflection without your phone is huge, right? That you're not interrupted every 30 seconds or you have to look up something else on YouTube. Maybe that's not the best promotional thing I should be saying, but really getting inside of yourself, right? Really self-reflecting on what it is that you think you need to change, if anything, and what it is that you want, right? And seeing for yourself where that is. And when you look in that mirror and like, I love myself, cringe, right? And then you process that. Why is it that it's so hard for you to love yourself? What feeling comes up? What emotion comes up? What comes up for you? And sit in that. Don't run away from it, but actually sit in that and allow it to come. And what you'll notice is it'll start to dissipate because you're actually allowing yourself to finally feel that. Right? And the more you do it, the easier it gets. So that's the first step, right? Doing some real in-depth self-reflection, right? And working whatever it is that you want to work on towards yourself. The next part would be, we talk about self-reflection, right? And then, you know, the next part is, in your heart, your heart set, right? And that's a word that Robin Sharman uses. He uses heart set. So that's, going from your mind and then going into your heart, right? And allowing yourself to feel and process things. Your emotionality is the word he uses, right? Really figuring out not only emotions that maybe upset you, but also feeling those emotions that make you happy, that make you feel joy, that make you excited. Get right into those things and feel those things, allow them to come up, right? And notice what is good about that for yourself. Right? And so the importance of that is that we do the deep self-reflection, right? And we get into, our heart, or what it is about ourselves, what it is we like about ourselves. We get into that. And then the next one would be, there's lots of people out there that talk about, the word they'll use is physicality. And so, we take up space, and not only about like eating well, that's important, and exercising, it's important, but also about how we carry ourselves is important. And all those things, they all line up together. And there's a fella on Instagram. I seen him on Instagram. I think it's Bo Eason. I think that's his name. But he talks a lot about physicality, and he would talk about, this coach he went to help him with presence and physicality. And this coach has worked with all kinds of celebrities and famous people to help them how they carry themselves. And it's so important that this coach went to this tribe in Africa where they hang around with all the big cats, right? The cats are all around. And a lot of the people don't get taken. And so he found that interesting. So he went there to study that. And it was just how they carry themselves. And that doesn't mean you're like strutting around like, but you have confidence, right? They walk around with confidence. There's those big cats around there that are going to eat them and eat any one of us. But they hold themselves together. They hold it in a space for themselves, and they take up space. And those cats know they're there, and they know those cats are there. And there's a mutual respect there. And he says, so no one ever gets eaten. And this is the funny part of the story. Well, I guess it's not so funny for the people. It's like, oh no, some of them do. They forget themselves and they go down to the local, right? And then they, have a few, and they lose sense of themselves. Now think about how widely you can spread that, right? There's certain things when we're not being ourselves, when we're not confident in ourselves, we're not holding up space for ourselves, right? We're not looking them right in the eye when we're communicating. Even now, when you watch most people, they walk down with their head down, headphones on, hoodies are up, and they're, there's not much eye contact. But you'll really feel it when someone looks right at you. And it's not, I don't mean like doing the big stare like that, but hold your head up, right? You're a good, you're an amazing person. You're enough. Hold your head up, right? And you'll find the more you do this, the easier it gets. But when you first start doing it, like the way you sort of walk and hold yourself, it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable. Well, not a bit, a lot. If you're used to always putting your head down, and it doesn't mean staring people down. That's not what I'm talking about, or that you're rude to people, or you're like, hey, get out of my way. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you, in yourself, hold that confidence, that pride in yourself, that you're a good person, right? Things really start to change for you, right? And doors start opening up, and people start recognizing you and making eye contact with you, and conversations happen when You would never think they would happen. And so the last part to really help you transform this stuff is what a lot of people don't like to talk about, and that's okay. But the idea of your spirit, right? Your spiritual practice, your your connection with a source higher than yourself. So why is that important? Well, we talk a lot about external things, things we can do. And a lot of times we'll get hyper focused on that external stuff. But when we take a journey inside of ourselves and really connect with what it is for us, that it's that higher peace for us, it can make a huge difference, right? We learn how to connect to something greater than ourselves. And there might be people that really irritates you. And I'm not talking about it to piss you off. I'm really not. And I'm not suggesting you join a certain type of religion or anything like that. That's not what we're talking about. But we see when people do connect on some level for themselves, some form of spirituality, whatever that may be. It could be prayer, meditation, um, walking in the forest, going for hikes. Lots of people have huge experiences. I remember for myself, I went on this hike and it was absolutely changed my life. It absolutely changed the way I started looking at things. And so don't count it out. And I know for some of you who may be watching, especially if you're a guy, people be like, oh, that's weak. This is that. And all this stuff is weak. But it takes a great deal of strength if you really do it, if you really think about, looking into your self-reflections. And part of those self-reflections are you're really going to start identifying your vulnerabilities. And vulnerabilities are not a weakness. They are an absolute strength. It doesn't mean you go out and tell all these people all these things, but you're being vulnerable with people by saying your own opinion, how you feel about things. You're not just being the nice person, right? And that's connected, that vulnerability. You think about it, you're being vulnerable with yourself about connecting to something, connecting to something that's greater than you and bigger than you. Maybe having faith in that, maybe having a relationship with that, whatever that may be for you. Anyways, as always, you are enough. Despite what anyone has told you, you're enough exactly how you are. You're enough just for being you. And you're so worth all the work you're doing for yourself and trying to do for yourself, for you. And you are loved. And you just look in that mirror, and there'll be no one on this planet that can love you better than you can love yourself. Once again, my name's Luke Burton, and I work as a therapist online and in the Kelowna, British Columbia area. I once again thank you for taking the time to watch this, and we will see you around. Take care.